Hey, what's going on, bull runners? Welcome back to the channel. Imagine a world where your everyday pharmacy purchases could be powered by XRP, or where banks no longer fear the blockchain revolution. A few months ago, that would sound far off, right? Well, it's happening right now, and it's shaping up the crypto space in ways that you won't believe. Stick around because today's news could change how you see XRP, banking, and real-world assets forever. Plus, we'll be heading over to X to find out all the breaking news that's happening in the crypto world today. We'll dive deeper into this Wellgistics debut of XRP payments for pharmacies. The Federal Reserve is ending its oversight program for banks versus crypto activities. We'll head over to Forex Factory and check out all the red folder news that you need to know about that happened this week. And we'll also be getting a head start on what's happening next week. Plus, we will be jumping into the XRP charts. We're going to be looking for areas of support and resistance that you need to know about right now. Plus, we'll be looking at long-term and short-term momentum. If you are here just for the charts, go ahead and fast forward to the end of the video for the charting. But first, let's head over to CoinMarketCap, check out the overall health of the crypto market today. We are trading at $3.97 trillion total market cap. That's behind $194 billion worth of trading volume today. Fear and Greed Index is taking a step back. We're back in the neutral zone at a 57. Altcoin Season Index coming in at 43. We'd love to see that push above that 50 level to really kick off altcoin season. Bitcoin dominance is continuing to drop 58.9%, down 3.24%. Bitcoin ETF inflow outflow reporting from yesterday, $81 million worth of outflows, bringing the week's total to only $483 million worth of inflows. It is a step up from last week, but it is not doing so hot. Ethereum ETF inflows, outflows also having a bad day yesterday, $105 million worth of outflows. However, on the week, it is absolutely astonishing, $2.8 billion worth of inflows to the Ethereum ETFs. Top 6 cryptos by total market cap. Bitcoin number 1 at $117,679. Ethereum at number 2 at $4,466. XRP at number 3 at $3.08. Tether at $1, number 4. Number 5, BNB at $830. And Solana at number 6 at $186. Heading over to Forex Factory, the financial news that you need to know about happening today. Core retail sales did come out. It was flat, which is actually a positive news. It was forecasted at 0.3%, came in at 0.3%. However, regular retail sales month over month, unfortunately, was slightly under. So it did underperform as far as retail purchases, people out there shopping and doing their things. The preliminary University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Report came out as well. It was forecasted at 61.9% excitement about the market. Right now, it is actually at 58.6%. So consumers are not thinking that everything is going well. Preliminary inflation expectations is at a 4.9. Previously, it was at 4.5. And as I'm sure you all saw, President Trump did speak. He actually met with President Putin from Russia today. They are trying to work out a ceasefire, a peace deal over this Ukraine versus Russia scenario. We'll see how that ends up playing out. Doesn't sound like a deal was struck, unfortunately. I did watch part of the actual interview. On a positive note, we did have Putin invite President Trump to Russia for their next meeting. What do we have to look forward to next week? Well, not until Wednesday. We do have the FOMC meeting minutes. So the FOMC meeting did happen a couple of weeks ago. Now we get to see the exact conversation that happened in that meeting. On Thursday, we are going to have a big number coming out, the unemployment claims, which is always very important for when it comes to crypto. We're also going to have flash manufacturing PMI and flash services PMI. This is the Purchasing Managers Index. It's a survey of about 800 purchasing managers. How do they feel about the manufacturing industry, how that is going? And then you have the services industry and how that is going. Then we have Friday. Fed Chair Powell will be speaking on Friday, August 22nd. And then the big one starts to happen, Jackson Hole Symposium. This is where all the big banksters get together in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and talk about how they're going to continue to steal all of our money. Heading over to X, let's look at the headlines before we jump into those main articles. Major news here, New York is going to propose a 0.2% tax on digital asset transactions starting in September. They're already trying to take your crypto gains. And big, massive news for XRP's ledger, from $175 million to $1.13 billion in real-world asset value. Everyone's going absolutely crazy on this. It actually jumped up. This surge aligns with Vert Capital's earlier tokenization of $130 million in agribusiness assets on the XRP ledger and the recent $1 billion tokenization of the XDC network, suggesting a broader trend of blockchain platforms facilitating liquidity and traditionally illiquid assets, supported by data from real-world asset RWA XYZ, showing XRPL's rapid climb to third place in the real-world asset rankings. As we can see here, the asset rankings for real-world assets, we were sitting at number 10 at 175 million. And it was an absolute explosion. As we can see here, XRP Ledger now at the number 3 spot at 1,127 million, which would be the 1.1 billion. Secretary Loomis trying to save face, because if you remember, she was the one that was leading the charge for the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve. We're going to buy 100,000 Bitcoin over time. Well, she came out today and said Secretary Bessent is spot on about the importance of Bitcoin as a store of value in the digital age. I look forward to continue working with Bessent and Howard Lutnick to identify budget-neutral ways to continue growing our Bitcoin reserve and outpacing adversaries in the race. So she still does want to have the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve, but now they're continuing to talk with this verbiage about budget-neutral ways, which is actually very beneficial and positive for the XRP army, because there's no extra push from the government cheating for one specific asset being Bitcoin. Now they're all on a level playing field. As we talked about in the intro, Federal Reserve to scrap the program devoted to policing banks on Bitcoin. We do have a deeper dive into that we will be getting into. Latest coming out from Cointelegraph says, Coinbase says the current market conditions signal a potential rotation into a full-scale altcoin season as Bitcoin dominance falls from 65% to 59%, while altcoin market cap hits $1.4 trillion in its latest research report. Now, this is also interesting because, as you've been hearing a lot about lately, was that there is no 4-year cycle. It's all over. Everything's different now because the United States is going to do a Bitcoin Strategic Reserve, meaning there's never going to be a pullback. Then other countries are going to do reserve, and there's never going to be a pullback. Well, now that there's no, like I say, unfair advantage of Bitcoin, where there's going to be this country buying 100,000 Bitcoin and then all the other countries coming on, we may see a traditional 4-year cycle continue to play out, where we have Bitcoin making the run to the all-time highs and continuing to lead the path. Then the rotation into Ethereum, which you're starting to see right now. And now you're even having calls for rotation out of Ethereum into altcoins in general. So are we going to have a new altcoin season that we've all been waiting for? Now, we've had a meme coin season thus far where some meme coins pumped and people did well. People made some good money, but not the vast majority where everyone puts some money into some altcoins and everyone makes a ton of money. Now, usually most people will end up round tripping that money and not selling and not taking profit. But this time around, will you be smart enough? Are you a genius now to take some actual profits? Let me know down in the comment section. Are you just going to ride it out? Is this crypto cycle going forever? Or do you think there will be a top at the end of 2025? Beginning of 2026. Okay, so before we talk about the Federal Reserve, let's just jump right into it, talk about some great news. Now, this is, again, fundamental great news because we're not seeing it in the XRP charts, but we also have to remember when there's great news that comes out about any coin, it doesn't really matter. Like, there's not very much of a decoupling from any coins in the industry anymore. They all pretty much run together. Yeah, XRP ran first, and then Bitcoin ran, and then we have Ethereum running now, but they all end up running, but they kind of run in sync. And that's what we're seeing. We're getting fundamental news for XRP. We just had crazy real world assets jumping to over $1 billion real world assets on XRP Ledger. Didn't move the price. Now we have this amazing news. Logistics is bringing Ripple's XRP Ledger to 6,500 US pharmacies, one of the first large-scale blockchain payment systems in healthcare. This enables pharmacies to pay for products and move funds while recording all payments on the XRP Ledger and offering an alternative to traditional bank transfers whose wholesale drug purchases. Logistics says that their systems meet all healthcare and financial rules, including the HIPAA privacy requirements and anti-money laundering laws. And let's not forget the treasury companies. There are now healthcare treasury companies. So several healthcare entities have added digital assets to their corporate treasuries in recent months, showing that healthcare industry's growing interest in cryptocurrency. Pernetics Global Limited, a health sciences company listed on NASDAQ, became the first healthcare firm to launch a significant Bitcoin treasury strategy. The company acquired 187 Bitcoin worth $20 million through Kraken and appointed former OKX Chief Operating Officer Andy Chung to its board to oversee the initiative. So if you're part of the XRP army, you know that XRP, Ripple, the company, had made a ton of different partnerships over time, and now you're starting to see them come to fruition in real-world use cases. Now, you may be wondering, well, why does this matter? It's just the pharmacy that's going to be using the XRP ledger. Well, it's a big step for XRP adoption, showing it's not just cross-border payments anymore. It's hitting your local pharmacy. For XRP holders, this could drive demand and price momentum, especially with XRP already in the $3 range. So keep an eye on this. It's a sign that crypto is becoming part of daily life.
Have you built a crypto portfolio over $1 million but want to access your wealth without selling any of your coins? Well, imagine unlocking up to 85% of your portfolio's value to fund ventures like real estate, to buy other projects in the crypto space that are undervalued compared to the projects that you currently hold, or to diversify into different DeFi yield opportunities. That way you can live on the interest without selling any of your crypto. Well, we've partnered with a leading global office offering non-recourse crypto loans for investors with portfolios starting at $1 million. The same company that is trusted by the world's largest institutions and investors because, as you already know, the billionaires don't sell their crypto, they borrow against it. So if you're ready to unlock up to 85% of your portfolio's value without selling any of your coins and you have a portfolio with at least $1 million, then email us at team@bullrunners.com. You're going to see our email contact in the description below, and we'll get you connected with the company that has helped clients like ours north of $100 million borrow against their crypto without selling any of it. So reach out to start a conversation with our team right now at team@bullrunners.com, and we'll talk to you soon.
So next up, we do have the big shift in the Federal Reserve, and they're planning to end their program that closely monitors banks' involvement with crypto that were being harassed, essentially. This will be over by 2026. This program started in 2023 and required banks to get approval before diving into crypto activities like custody or trading. Now the Fed says banks can engage in crypto under existing laws without extra oversight. And the reason this is a big deal is a green light for banks to explore crypto without jumping onto extra hoops. This could mean more banks offering crypto services, from holding Bitcoin to supporting blockchain projects. For the crypto market, this signals growing mainstream acceptance, which could bring more institutional money and stabilize prices. But it's not all smooth sailing. Now, some worry less oversight could lead to risks if banks rush too fast to adopt it. But either way, this step towards crypto becoming a core part of finance. All right, so let's jump into XRP in the charts. Taking a look at XRP in the charts, as we've been talking about now for the last couple of days, this level right here, which was our previous candle body close high from the week of January 20th and 27th, has been acting as a nice support this week. This weekly candle currently has 2 days left in it. When we drop down to the daily candles, as we can see, price did come down to it. It actually dipped below it with the wick twice. And today we are bouncing to the upside from the 30 exponential moving average. So we do have some good news here. One, the 30 exponential moving average has been a great support for the bodies of these candles on the daily charts. But let's also take a look back actually from the tops of these body candles here from August 5th and August 4th. Those are also acting as a support level for us. Now, we do have to keep in mind our short-term momentum wave had maxed out and done really well back here while we made that run up to its new all-time high of $3.66. Then our short-term momentum wave reset from 100 down to 0, and it started making its move up, peaked out at 100, and then immediately started to make its turn to the downside. So right now, short-term momentum is getting weaker, as we can see, to the downside. Our middle term momentum is also dropping down. So our short term, mid-term momentum's coming down for a reset at the 0 base level for the shaft trend cycle indicator. What we see here on the Wolfpack long-term momentum indicator, we are still trading above the 0 line. However, our slope has come down, but you can see it's starting to round off. We definitely would like to see a recovery back to the upside here. So as for daily momentum, short-term momentum not looking strong. Let's look at the 12-hour. The 12-hour has reset. So momentum on the 12-hour had peaked out at the 100 on short-term, and then it also finished out pretty close to peaked out on the midterm. Short-term starts crashing down, and we're getting a little reversal here. Good news is on these, they are actually reset to zero essentially in the next 24 to 48 hours. Right now, though, our long-term 12-hour momentum is getting to that zero line. We need to see it bounce off this level and immediately recovery. Otherwise, we could be turning bearish on the 12-hour. As we have a look here on the 4-hour, 4-hour has completely zeroed out. And in fact, the 4-hour candles are starting to have a short-term momentum trend line start to move to the upside. You can barely see it here, but it has turned up. We also have on the long-term momentum, we are bearish in the red on the 4-hour, but we did get a green arrow here indicating a potential recovery to the upside. So what we need to see in the short-term 4-hour is first off, we need to break back above our 30 exponential moving average, which is at $3.10. And then it needs to recover above our 30 and 50, which is at $3.16. So let's take a look at our supply and demand zones for XRP on the 4 hours. We had this nice pump to the upside, a pullback, leaving this bottom red candle, which will be acting as a support level. Then we had a nice push to the upside, and we had this red candle right here, which is going to be a support level. In fact, we're going to go ahead and delete this lower one for now because we have gotten to this level twice, the supply and demand zone, and we have had lots of buyers in this zone. So that's very positive news. As we take a look to the upside, though, we have this little micro pump to the upside. We're going to have to break through this zone, which is the top of the zone, $3.12. We need to break through that. Then we can make our move to the next level. So this was the push to the upside, final candle of that push there. This became our area that people are selling off in. When price gets to this level right now, people are selling off at that $3.35 to $3.30. Once we break above this zone right here, we could then continue our surge to the upside, bringing us into the supply and demand zone of $3.51 and $3.55. So those are areas of interest to the upside. First, we have to break above this level here of $3.1267, so basically $3.13. That would also indicate that we break above these moving averages. Then we have to break above the level here of 336. Then we would get into the levels up here that we need to break above 355. So let's go take a look at XRP on our weekly spider lines chart. So on the 4-hour candles here, you can see that the spider lines have been coming in very handy for us as far as support and also resistance. So as price came down, it bounced off of our $3.01 spider line, made a move up to our $3.11 spider line, rejected, came back down to 301. Now it's trying to push back again. So we need to break above the $3.11 spider line. Then that can help us surge back up into the 324 zone. And then after the 324 zone, getting up into the 343 zone before ultimately getting back into our arch nemesis on the daily chart here for this. As we can see, this was our peaked out zone when we got to that $3.40 top. It was rejected off this dotted spider line. Then right here, our most recent all-time high, bodied candles closed, rejected off this level. So when we get to this, price and time puts us at $3.58. So we will see a $3.58 potential resistance before moving up to 386, which is interesting because as we just covered all of these zones as well, they coincide with long-term levels of support and resistance. So we got to break this 336, then we got to break above this 355. And if we go here, we got to break this 324, then we got to break this 343, and then we get up into the 355. Taking a quick look at Bitcoin, we are on the weekly chart here, 2 days left in this candle. So as we can see, when price moved up into this zone, this becoming our new weekly high closed-bodied candles, it pushed up to the zone, rejected, pushed back up into that same exact zone. This week, it pushed even higher to start, but were rejected. Now, we do have a nice bull flag pattern potentially playing out here. So from this pump right here, from the breakout level right there, it got up here, started making a triangle pattern. It did break out and immediately crashed back down, filling in that fair value gap that it left, and then pushed higher. No strategic Bitcoin reserve created a horrible day for Bitcoin and all of crypto, but we are starting to rebound off of the 30 exponential moving average on the daily chart. Now, one thing that does not look good here, though, our short-term and mid-term momentum waves are starting to descend back down to zero for a reset. Now, our long-term momentum waves are still showing bullish. We did have a bearish divergence appear after this candle body close right here on August 13th. And the very next day, we did have a crash to the downside. We will continue to track this long-term, short-term momentum waves for you on Bitcoin as well. As you can see, the weekly one has started to descend down to the zero level for a weekly reset. If we look in the charts historically for the most recent scenario where price short-term and mid-term rose up, short-term came down and reset while mid-term stayed high. Well, that happened right here. So they both reset, both came up. Short-term momentum has this quick little pullback. Price essentially just consolidates back to the 10 exponential moving average, then shoots up. It went from 41,000 all the way up to 73,000. So if this continues to reset here on the weekly to the zero line for a reset on the short-term momentum, mid-term momentum stays up. Long-term momentum is looking strong, obviously, right here on Bitcoin. We have a consolidation period, then a breakout to the upside. Could be a massive breakout to the upside, as we saw back here. Ethereum did break out of its bull flag pattern and actually finished out the full move. So as you can see here, the flag pole, this flag pattern that played out right here, the breakout zone got all the way up into our supply and demand zone and broke through and is pushing continuation to the upside. Now, obviously, we had the pullback here on the daily for Ethereum as well. Previous all-time highs just right above it, 49.51. We take a look at the daily charts, it pushed up. But you also have to remember, it actually got pretty significantly far away from the 10 exponential moving average here. It's coming back for that level. Now that we have broken through this level, which was our short-term peak, that one came from March 12th, 2024. We have to go back farther in history to the previous all-time high. And let's find out where our supply and demand zone is in this area here. On the Heikin-Ashi candles, we'll switch it up, move it out to the previous all-time high. And that final push up before the pullback here will highlight that green candle right there. And that is where we are going to run into some resistance. Because remember, all these people that went long at this zone, they finally get back to break even. They're probably going to sell off. So let's see where price is right now. And you can see that's exactly where price got to. So price pushed up right into that supply and demand zone from the previous high. Literally the very last daily candle from the previous high created this zone right here. People got back to this level. They're like, oh my God, I'm finally at zero. I'm going to sell. So they sold off. So we could see a continued sell off at this level as we consolidate sideways. But once we break this level, we're into price discovery mode for Ethereum, and it could be absolutely fantastic.
Hey, bull runners, check this out. If you want to learn how to find the next 10x, 50x, or even 100x altcoin in this video, listen to this. Our research team posted GOAT on the 13th of October of 2024 when it was right at a penny, and since then it rallied to over $1 and is currently still up over 5,000%. That's like turning $1,000 into over $50,000. Our team called Pendle at only a $16 million market cap, or 16 cents, back on February 18th of 2023, all the way back here, and since then it's rallied up over 4,000%. That's a 40x. It's like turning $1,000 into over $40,000. Our team also called BitTensor Tau September 15th, 2022, before the token was ever even launched. And since then, Tau has rallied over 2,000%. That's a 20x. Our team even said Solana is most likely to be one of the easiest trades next year, and this was posted December 29th, 2022, on the day that Solana bottomed out at around $8. And since then, Solana looks like it's up over 2,500%. That's a 25x. It's like turning $1,000 into over $25,000. And the bull run is just getting started. The list goes on and on and on. Our team called Sui, Ondo, and even some of the biggest cult-based meme coins like MOG back in July 20th of 2023, the day that MOG launched. So if you want to learn how our team is finding these altcoins before they explode, we just launched Altcoin Pro University, where our research team gives you real-time altcoin picks with explosive potential for this bull run, along with 100+ expert curated classes crafted by industry experts to discover these gems yourself, on top of our live weekly calls every single week for in-depth crypto market analysis and daily updates. And that's just a fraction of what we offer inside of Altcoin Pro University. Just go through the link in the description below, get in right now, watch the 26-minute video covering everything that Altcoin Pro University offers,